All right, Chris. So if you had 1 minute to give an artist the best music marketing advice you could possibly give them, what would you say? Clock is ticking.
Oh, wow. Okay. So starting and assuming the song is awesome, that you need to shout it from the rooftops. I'm talking social media, email, friends, text messages, and not just once, but multiple times. I'm literally in the middle of a Kickstarter and I've already sent multiple emails. I've posted about this thing, I don't know how many times, but I know when I stop posting, that's when I stop not getting purchases. Like literally, I feel the pain like that, like, oh, I've posted about this, or I feel like, oh, I've posted too much. No, 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 no. You got to post again and you got to be annoying for your career, but you've
Yeah.
got to do it in creative ways. So like you got to switch it up. You can't just say buy my stuff, buy my stuff. You got to tell stories. As they say, stories tell or facts or no, stories sell, facts tell, and you want to tell stories about your music. Is that under a minute?
Yeah, it was. Or a minute and one, but close enough. That's
All
awesome.
right.
So basically, never stop pushing. And I actually had a pre-written question that I was going to ask you at some point on here that I think I'll just bring up
Mm,
now. You have, well, actually, everyone is okay with music marketing, or sorry, everyone is okay with marketing when it comes to businesses, but a lot of
mm,
artists get a little cringed out when you start telling them they need to market their music. They'll say things like music should sell itself, and
yeah.
I don't want to like musicians shouldn't have to invest money to market their music.
Mm,
What would you say to those people?
yeah. Well, there's a quote by an awesome band, and people can guess, but they say you can't buy me love, and it's the same thing that you can't buy me fans. You can't buy fans. But what we do is we buy impressions. We buy advertising and we put our music in front of people and we make the listen experience happening faster. It's kind of like we force feed them to eat, we force them to eat it, but then it's the fans' job to decide whether they like it or not. And it depends on how good the cook was. I'm
Yeah,
kind of using a funny recipe example here, but like if the song is good, then that's what's gonna win over the hearts. Because that's what wins over me, man. When I hear a dope song or a lyric, like I've been listening to this guy Jelly Roll lately, and his music has just been like boom, it's been hitting me. And so I'm listening
yeah,
to it again and again and again. But if his label or he didn't market and post, I never would have found out about.
yeah,
And so I'm like 100% believer. Like, yeah, you can't buy a fan base, but you can sure buy advertising and impressions to get your music out there and make that thing happen faster. Because otherwise, I'm not leaving this thing to chance. I didn't spend tens of thousands of dollars on my songs or my album to just leave it to chance.
yeah. It's the same thing that like Apple does when they launch a new iPhone. Like even though everyone in the world knows about
Mm,
Apple, they still
that's
spend
good.
like hundreds of millions of dollars marketing that damn thing, you know?
Mm,
And
yeah.
like Billie Eilish and Justin Bieber, they pay for marketing. I mean, the type of marketing they pay for, it's probably not the same thing that you and I pay for. Like they're getting on like Jimmy Kimmel and stuff
Hmm.
like that, and running billboard ads, like literally in Times Square, billboard ads, and um, but they don't leave it to chance.
No, no. And like how much does a publicist cost? Like, you know, I've hired publicists where it was a retainer of 2,000 to 2,500 a month, which is pretty low. But I know one guy I was working with, he was telling me he hired a pretty big publicist for this band, and it was like at least 10 grand a month.
Yeah,
And I'm sure these Bieber publicists or Billie Eilish, you're probably looking at 20K or more. But
yeah,
if they can create those opportunities to be in front of those eyeballs, because that's really all it is, and that's on a massive scale. And leading to what that first question you said to me, the reason why I keep promoting and keep posting and sending out multiple emails, like we just made it public yesterday for my Kickstarter, and I sent I think two or three emails the first day, and I'll probably send. Sometimes I'll email twice a day. I'll at least email once a day,
yeah,
but I know when that campaign ends, I'm probably going to send 3 to 4 emails because I know I just from experience I realize I've got to remind people. People are busy, man. Like
yeah.
like people are just busy, and we gotta remind them and push through the noise. And what's funny is I get encouraged when I get in a sale, right? And so that makes me want to post more. And it's frustrating. And I'm sure you felt this too with what we do when we're trying to help artists and musicians and get out there and we promote something and nobody buys right away, but then someone buys like, oh, okay, I got to promote more. But I encourage all these artists that are listening, when you're promoting and you feel like nothing is happening, don't give up. That's called the messy middle. And I feel it all the time. And I'm about to feel it because the first week is always exciting, but it's the
Yeah.
second and third week of a campaign where it's like I literally want to punch myself in the eye with like a poker. You know what I mean? Because it's just pushing through, right? And so we all feel it, but you gotta feel the pain and the the crickets
Yeah.
and push through that,
Yeah, it's always a challenge to promote anything. Like no matter what you're working with. I mean, like in some ways things get easier as you gain your fan base and anything, not just music, whether it's like a course business or whatever. But pretty much anything new has its own challenges where like you it's a new song and it's a new style for you, so you're trying to figure out who's going to like it more, who's going to like it less, or whether it's like an actual product like a course or something and you're figuring out like what the messaging is like. But no matter what it is, like you're right that they generally have to be reminded a few times, even when you have their email address. It's
Yeah.
you often you'll send out an email and usually open rates will be like 30% or something. A
Mm-hmm.
reasonably good email list. So it's like if you send out that email 3 times, everyone in general will see it. And I'm sure you can do the same thing in Active Campaign as I do in Drip. Every time I send out an email, my software will automatically send that email 2 days later to everyone that didn't open the first one.
Oh, cool. Yeah, you can definitely see who opened it, who clicked on it. And that's the assumption a lot of artists make, is that just because you sent it, you assume they opened it. And you assume because they opened it that they clicked on it. But you cannot assume that. And the same thing with posting on social media. Like I have thousands of followers. Uh, I don't know what we got right now, like 40,000. And just for the sake of this interview, I'd rather have 40,000 emails than 100,000. Wait, yeah, 40,000 emails than 100,000 followers. You know what I mean? Emails are
Yeah.
worth more. But like, I realized that just because I posted it, not everybody saw it. They scrolled right past it. They maybe, and they stopped for a couple of seconds. But did I post something eye catchy enough or, cool enough to make them stop and then click on my profile link? Did I put it to my stories and try these different angles and stuff like that? And yeah, it's just and you can't keep doing the same thing over and over either. Like you
Yeah.
got to switch it up for sure, or else you are just going to annoy people. But when, like, I think with art, man, like there's just so many different cool ways to post and promote.
Yeah. Yeah. Even on like you've probably seen this type of content people make on TikTok where they're just like performing their song and they put like some text on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that usually what people do is they'll like lip sync the song, let's say in a park. They'll lip sync the whole song on like a rooftop. They'll lip sync the whole song at the beach. And then they'll cut each of those different lip sync performances into like different 30-second clips. So each performance gives you like four or so snippets. And then
Mm-hmm.
each one of those they'll put different text captions over the video, like check out this song if you just went through a breakup. Check out, this is the song for you if you're battling with depression. This is the song for you if you can't get out of bed today.
I love that.
And so it's like one song, and even just that boring lip sync style that's been done a million times before, you can get like 50 posts, you know?
Yep. Yep.
And if every time you post it hits up like 8% of your audience, which I think is the standard for Instagram, like 8 to 10%, it's like if you post 10 times, you might hit everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're doing retargeting campaigns right now. And I know you're the guru on that. And I've been creating the audiences where anyone who's interacted with my Facebook or Instagram campaign, I'm running an ad to retarget them. But I don't know if I forgot or they just added it again. where you can finally target all your followers on Facebook
Yeah.
and Instagram. I just saw that in there again, so I made sure I created that audience so I didn't miss anyone.
Yeah, they never had the Instagram one until recently. And
Mm,
some people watching this still might not have it. Some, like,
mm.
Facebook's, I don't know if you have access to different accounts, but you might have noticed that, like, you'll go on one account and you'll be missing some features, and you go on the other account and you have extra features.
Right, for
It's
sure.
just how they do it. It's frustrating as
Just
hell
rolling
trying
it
to,
out.
yeah. It makes teaching it super hard because it's like,
Yeah,
oh, I don't have this feature, and it's like, oh, great, Facebook doing another beta test or whatever. But
yeah,
um,
yeah,
that is the thing that a lot of people can do. Like, you can make an audience of your Facebook followers, an audience of your Instagram followers, and either purposely exclude them, so you're not like hitting them up with your retargeting ads, or like purposefully targeting them to make sure they're seeing something.
yeah, yeah. Like what I should be doing for this Kickstarter, I can't because I'm using my mom's account, but I should be uploading my list of everyone who's bought and exclude them so I don't keep advertising to them, right? I
Yeah,
probably could exclude. I can't exclude the thank you page though, so I could do it that way. Just upload, just create a custom audience of people who had landed on the next page, I guess, and make sure it doesn't get shown to anyone
yeah,
on that. That way I'm saving some ad budget.
yeah. And so one thing I wanted to ask about. So you have like 1 million monthly listeners on Spotify, which, by the way, congrats. That's awesome.
Thanks,
that's
man.
that's huge. I was wondering, and I'm sure everyone else watching is wondering, how did you build that? And what I mean is, was that mostly organic, just through like all the music you've been releasing and through the history of your music career? Was it mostly ads? Was it mostly playlisting? I know you were signed to a few labels over the years. Um, what built that up?
Yeah, no, a great question, man. And I'm literally pulling up my history right now, because some people are right now are coming into the conversation, halfway through the movie. You know what I mean? And I don't even know if have you ever even shared a screen in on an interview before? No, you can't. Anyways, it doesn't matter. The
I
point
could turn it on, but it'll probably break the flow.
it'll break something, so we don't want to do that. But the point is, I'm looking at my history, and I can see like 2015, where I was getting like 16,000 streams a day, and I left the label in 2014, and even my A&R said to me, Chris, don't re-sign with us. You do more for your marketing than we do for you. Like he literally said that to me. So I left them in 2014, and so 2015 I was getting 16,000 streams a day. I guess in 2022, my highest stream count in one day was like over 162,000 streams in one day, which is pretty monumental. And as I'm looking at this, it was pretty like this for a while, and then eventually it just started going, and then there was this woof, right?
Yeah.
And that was in 2021, 2020 was when we started. Actually, it was about 2020 to 2021 we started really growing. And there's a lot of different things I do for my music. I wasn't touring actually. That's when I stopped touring, which I miss so much. But we did some radio, some active rock, and so that helped with like Sirius XM. And what's so powerful about a Sirius XM station is that when you're played all across the US, all across Canada and Mexico, as opposed to one regular radio station, you're just played in that city, let alone part of that state, right? So the reach of a Sirius XM station is crazy, and that was Octane because we get played on a lot of metal. So that helped a little bit. We had some success there. Definitely, I've always been running Facebook and Instagram ads to constantly grow. We were selling, 40 to 60 CDs a day with Facebook and Instagram ads. The
Jeez.
big ones, the big one specifically on Spotify though was collaborations and getting other artists to feature on the songs. That's helped. And then even most recently, I got and this was probably almost a year ago, Spotify Discovery Mode. I was asked to be a
Uh,
part of the beta testing, and so that probably gave me an extra 100 and something thousand monthly listeners that Spotify
oh,
went and found for me. And when I opted into that, not only did my monthly listeners go up, but my royalties went up despite the 30% commission that they take on the initial stream.
Yeah.
So there's probably a lot of other things that I did, but there's some stuff we could probably chat about in there. But
Yeah, there's
definitely I can't.
some
Yeah.
very interesting points in there. So I mean, one, the discovery mode thing. I made a video about that recently,
Mm,
and a lot of people have mixed feelings about it because of the commission.
yeah.
It seems to be pretty cool. Like this is, I think today the first initial data for my first discovery mode campaign will be live because I opted in for April, and I did a
Oh,
video
cool, man.
about it. Someone else gave me access to their account, and I looked at like their March stats for that, and it looked pretty good. Like it wasn't like life changing. It took their radio streams from like, I think they have 30,000 monthly listeners, and they were getting about 1,000 listeners per month from radio, and it took them to
Mm-hmm.
like 3. So like it
Okay.
tripled the radio portion, which was like a 10% bump monthly listeners. And it
Yeah.
sounds like for
Yeah.
you that was, I mean, if you have a million monthly listeners or something, like a 10% bump is 100,000. So it's
Oh, it's insane. Like when I look at my campaign right now, like this is probably just for just some of my songs. So if I just look at April for 30 of my songs, and this is a smaller because I have to use it through DistroKid and TuneCore, and so my smaller catalog, only has 30 songs in it on DistroKid, and they got
yeah.
me 10,000 new listeners.
Oh damn.
Okay, that I never would have had before. A 405% listener lift. But when I click on my TuneCore campaign, because oh, it's not going to show me in here. Is it not going to show me? Um, there is another one. Anyways, this one shows that I got 28,000 new listeners. And so
Yeah.
that's and it says underneath it the total number of new listeners who have never streamed the artist. Like that's insane marketing. Like
Yeah.
and I know they're taking their commission, but like, dang, dude, like how else am I like what is that going to cost on Spotify ads or Facebook or Instagram ads? I'll
Yeah.
pay the 30% commission.
Right, because it's only off that first listen they get you. So if they come into your world and listen to a second song or even that same song again in their library, it's like that's not commissioned. So now the engagement metrics in Discovery Mode were pretty god awful, but like it's free, and essentially
Yeah.
if only 5% of those people listen like more than that listen, then it's worth it. At least I think it is.
Yeah, when I think about how much I'm listening to this one artist right now because I really like his songs, like it's like that's happening for my music to fans, right? And it's just like if I can just get found and I bring the goods and keep delivering songs that make them feel a certain way and win over their hearts, they're going to stream all my stuff. And obviously I have a pretty big back catalog,
Yeah.
which definitely also helps too. I've been in the game for a while, and that's why I would encourage other artists, like, you know, you got to keep building your catalog eventually as well too. That will help so you can take advantage of discovery mode. But make sure they're hits, man, because it's funny because I'm listening to this artist right now, that guy Jelly Roll, and it's like the first 6, 7 I really really like, but then when I get down to the eighth, ninth, 10th, I'm just like I don't really like those ones as much. You know what I mean? And so me even as an artist is making me think like am I giving people what they really want? Like I really like these specific style songs, and so it makes me think like, well, maybe I need to write more songs like that are really hitting and give my fans what they want. It really
Yeah.
made me think about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the great marketing won't make a bad song do amazing. I mean, like, I've pulled off some miracles, running ads for clients and stuff where I've like in the song, I'm like, don't really think it's that great. You probably should go put this money towards like music lessons or a better producer or whatever.
Yeah.
But you,
Yeah.
you get paid to do a job at the end of the day,
Yeah.
and so I've pulled off some miracles, like getting a song that I don't think is that great on Discover Weekly and getting tens of thousands of streams. But like
Mm-hmm.
the music should be great, or
Yeah.
at least good, And
Mm-hmm.
the better your music is, the easier of a job you're gonna have marketing. And there's people I know that make, I would say, music way better than I make, that when they run their campaigns, every campaign they do is like 2 or 3 times better than my campaigns. And it's not all about the quality. There's also the marketability thing. Some people
Mm-hmm.
are great. Like every song they make is like super marketable. It fits the niche perfectly. The
Mm-hmm.
visuals are phenomenal. So all those things matter greatly. Is my point. And
Yeah.
like you for your CD, I've seen some of your ads for your CDs, and like you have really good music videos, and you use
Mm.
clips of them or the full ones, and it's not just about the song, but like you have this really cool creative that goes along with it, and that matters too.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that makes a huge difference. And what's wild is sometimes I will use a really old song in the ad. Lately I've been using a newer song, but for years I was using a song that's like, I don't know, like 15 years old, I think actually, which is really making me sound old. But what's also interesting, and this I hope this encourages people that are listening, like if your songs are old, just because they're old to you doesn't mean they're old to other people. And we had a song, my song Edge of My Life, just blow up on YouTube because this artist used it in her video, and I think she's Chinese. But this thing just last month got like 30 million streams. Like on the total, the video has 215 million views on it. That's more than my whole YouTube channel in itself.
Yeah,
But this song is 8 years old, and so it's breathed new life into an old song. And so, and this song is a hit. Like it did well for me in radio back in the day, and it did good. But like that tells me that this didn't get marketed enough mass. And
yeah,
because obviously people are resonating with this, and I see it in my Shazams, and I get hit up by a label in China every day trying to buy the rights to this thing, and oh, we'll help promote it. And it's like I'm thinking to myself, you don't know how to promote. You're just trying to ride the coattails of this artist who used my song. They're the ones that actually did the marketing for this song, and it happened
yeah.
to blow up. But how exciting is that to know that like songs that are really really old, if they're good, like it makes me think like, man, I didn't market my music enough, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and honestly, that's a market that would be really hard to market to, just because China is so hard to like enter from the outside world. Just they don't
Yeah.
have Facebook. They don't. I don't think they have Spotify. I mean, they have it in Hong Kong, but
Yeah, I'm
it's
getting paid by EaseNet or something like that. I don't know, but my
okay.
royalties are crazy from some Chinese platform. TuneCore is the one who pays me through that stuff. It's really wild.
Yeah,
I almost signed the rights over, but thank God I'm not an idiot anymore, and I did a little bit more digging to make sure I'm getting paid.
yeah. I was before we hopped in the call, I went and stalked you on the internet a little bit, and I found an interview you did from like a while back where you were signed with, was it Tooth
Yeah,
and
tooth and nail.
Tooth and Nail for
Yeah.
for global rights for like a three-year contract, 3 album contract, something like that. And then you were like popping in Japan, so you went over to Japan on a tour, and while you were there, you signed, like, since your contract was expiring, you negotiated a deal with EMI Japan to handle your Japanese distribution, and then went back to Tooth and Nail and were like, you're not taking my Japan anymore. You're just doing my US,
Yeah.
which is something I never even thought was possible. Like to just, it's like, oh wow, you guys are making a killing in my Japan. You guys didn't do a damn thing in Japan. This is essentially from the music organically or whatever. So
Yeah.
you because of that success, you're able to negotiate a better deal in Japan, and then basically force this label to focus on just the U.S., which I think is brilliant. Um,
Yeah.
what's your opinion on the whole label thing now? Like for the average indie artist, do you think they have a place, or for most artists should do the indie thing?
Yeah. So when I signed, I had no leverage, right? And I was the indie artist, just like anyone else watching this. And so I got a crappy deal. And thank God it was a licensing deal. So I got all my records back. That's the only way I'm able to still make the money I make off of my music. But I had no leverage. So I didn't get an advance or anything like that. It wasn't until we had success in Japan. And then when I renegotiated with them, which they were ticked, man, I really ticked them off. They're like, we don't actually want, they only wanted to do a deal with me in Japan. Like
Yeah,
they didn't even want to do a deal with me in the US. But anyways, I turned in a really good record, and then they did end up doing a deal in the US, and then finally we blew up in the US. It took 4 or 5 records, right? Like 3 with the label. It was the fourth one that finally took off. Just so people understand, like this isn't an overnight success thing. But where the label came in handy back then was obviously distribution and tapping into
Yeah.
that Japanese market because they had the worldwide distribution. But it was the Japanese label that saw it and said, "Hey, we want this." Like the label even said to me, they were trying to push their other artists that they were more invested in. And but the Japanese label kept on saying, "No, no, no, we don't want them. We want Manifest. We want Manifest, right?"
Yeah.
And so it's really wild. But like um when I was with them, we had like a lot of radio success, and a lot of these radio stations are in the pockets of labels, and so that's very important. And we had a lot of radio success in the Christian world in the US and Canada. We had some mainstream as well too with active rock after I was with the label. But I got a real wake up call when I decided to go indie, and I went to radio, and it was like I was the stepchild now. I used to be the poster boy.
Yeah.
Now I'm not with the label. Now I'm like the stepchild. And they I got barely any radio play. And that's what we were really still using to sell records. Because radio can still sell some records if you get, a big enough, play and enough stations that have that reach, right? But
Yeah.
I got a real wake up call on that. But now if I was to sign with the label, it would really have to be a fair deal where they're making the pie bigger. Because like
Yeah.
I'm in the mindset that I'd rather have 50% of a watermelon than 100% of a grape. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you,
Yeah.
but a lot of the times the label doesn't do that. Like they'll sign an indie artist like me to a global contract, but you ain't doing anything in Germany. You ain't doing anything in France. Like you don't have boots down there. You don't have a Canadian office.
Yeah.
Like they don't have, but they're just taking all this global rights, right? And then that's where artists need to understand, like this is uh you got to think global and not local. And so unless a label is really going to do something for you, um like I'm not really into it. But I would be open again if like I would do a deal with Japan in a heartbeat, like another major deal, especially in a market where I can't do anything, or if they have relationships with TV film. Like I had a buddy who signed with Dream Records. I remember he got in some pretty big film placements. He got in like Iron Man and some different trailers and stuff, and it's because of the label. So there's definitely connections and certain things that a label will bring. But I'm at the mindset, man, is like, look, you've got everything you need with DistroKid or whoever you want to use to distribute your music, and then TikTok and social media for your marketing promotion. You just have to think, and you have to come up with great songs and then great marketing. And it's like, why why would you then want a label? Like you really
Yeah.
want to, put your hands at the whim of someone else? Like it just, yeah, it would be very difficult to see me get signed again. There'd have to be multiple seven figures for me to re-sign.
Yeah, I know someone else who is in a similar boat as you in terms of audience size. He's been a full time artist for like 2 decades. He has a bunch of albums, and I have to keep this super vague because he specifically told me to make sure I don't share this with anyone. So, but so I'll keep it super vague. But he was considering signing with the label because the label was overseas and could essentially help them could make touring a whole lot easier in their market. They've never been able to penetrate
Mm,
this particular country, and or they could, but it would be so expensive and hard for them that they if failure would like be a huge like bankruptcy issue, right? Because it's so
mm,
expensive to fly everything out there, get a bus, figure out all the locations, and they're comfortable doing nationwide tours, but they were thinking of doing it like almost not solely because of that, but that was like a huge factor.
mm.
And not only that, but the company has been able to get certain syncs for their artists in certain places, and that's something that's kind of notoriously the industry kind of gets over time further and further away from like the who backdoor deals, but that's still a huge
Mm,
part of the music industry. Like
yeah.
labels still sit down with Spotify in their studios and like basically get sales pitches on if they can what songs they should add to the editorials. Like that's still a thing. Even though you can pitch directly,
Yeah.
there's a bunch of backdoor crap, and the sync world is very much like who you know and what companies you work
Yeah.
with, and
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah, it
challenge.
really is. It's all relationships, right? And whether you want to tap, and that's one reason why you would sign with a label is to get those relationships. Like they did actually, when you bring up touring, they did help me get my first booking agent. And it's kind of like you have one person that believes in you, so you can get other people to believe in you, and then more people and more people just to believe in you and leverage these contacts, right? And
Yeah,
that's why it's so important to be cool and be nice and be friendly and easy to work with. But yeah, like relationships are everything, right? And so and it is frustrating with all those backdoor deals and
yeah,
all the different things. But there's always I always look at it, that's not the only way. There's so
yeah,
many opportunities, right?
totally. Yeah, there's a lot of artists that blow up without them now.
Yeah.
Another thing you brought up on the Spotify side is collaboration.
Mm.
And I've noticed some artists will treat collaborations almost like a competition thing. Like they're not thinking of it this way to expose their fans to other artists. I mean, it's if you and I had that mentality, we wouldn't be talking right now, right? Like in several
Yeah.
ways, you and I are like direct, competitors, so to speak. But
Right.
it's like the reason why we do a thing like this is because like you have your own audience, I have my own audience, and we don't overlap. Like if we were like head to head and every product we had was exactly the same, like maybe then it wouldn't
Right.
make sense. But like there's all these things that you offer that I don't. There's all these things that I offer that you don't, and we have the same goal, so it makes a lot of sense. And I think for music, like there's even more of a justification where to like collaborate. So,
Mm,
do you have
for
any
sure.
advice for artists when it comes to collabs?
Yeah, and it's just ego, right? It's ego, and I think it's fear, right? Because I'm excited to promote all your stuff and see what you're doing and but honestly, maybe back in the day, maybe I would have been like, oh, I'm better than him, or whatever, or I've got this. And honestly, that was kind of my attitude as an artist growing up, and one of my biggest regrets that I didn't collaborate more. Like, and I don't know if like I lost my dad to suicide when I was 5 years old, and I used to struggle with a lot of fear and just different things. And so I think I've always had this thing where I had to prove them wrong, and I'm going to be successful and whatever. And I think to my detriment, I haven't worked with more people. I can specifically think of like being on tour, as much as I didn't want to like get drunk and do certain things in that lifestyle because I was just so focused on the business and the music. I would go back to my hotel, but I wish I had developed the relationships a little bit more and done co-writes on the road, or like
Yeah,
just saw like stop seeing them as my competitors but my collaborators, like not just for tour but like songwriting. Because like one of my regrets is like I toured with this one artist, which was great, and it was in this tour was happened to be in Canada, but it's like they have a global fan base. Like forget just touring with them in Canada or US or Europe, but like tap into the global thing, right? And I just like yeah, like sure, as long as it's a fair audience size. Like again, like I'll collaborate with an artist if they have 500,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, or if they have maybe 300,000, but yet they have a big Instagram, or maybe they have something else and that we can leverage it. And it's just like we're tapping into each other's audience. And what
yeah,
I love about it is I'm integrating myself into their business. Like now, anything that they do to grow their career, I'm going to show up in that conversation, or I can show up, like especially for some of the artists where the songs that we did where I'm in their top 5 or even their
yeah,
number 1 top song, right? Like now anything they ever do to market themselves, someone goes there, I'm literally going to get like an effect from that. I'm going to get the splash over effect from that, which is just huge. So
yeah,
I'm all about it now.
yeah. Like, even if you're working with an artist that's, let's say you work with someone who's literally started from scratch. Like let's say a friend of yours started a project. You might collab with them just to help them out. But let's say 5 years down the line, they're bigger than you. And all of a sudden, you're kind of riding off of their successes. And um, I've talked to so many artists where they're like, yeah, back in the day, I toured with this band, and we were both just
Mm.
like small potatoes. No one cared about us. And now they're like Billboard charting, international name recognition, and it's like it's like if they did a collab, 20 years
Oh,
ago, they would have, even if they didn't propel to the same heights, like maybe they would be 10% of that, and they would
yeah.
have never given up on music, or like, because I've talked to people like they retired and then now they're getting back into it now that they're older, whether it's like they're 40 or 60. Like I've talked to several people who are like that, and I think collabs are a great way to kind of hedge your bets, because if you got 10 friends that make great music, you collaborate with all 10 of them, like you
Yeah.
literally have 10 times the chance of being somewhat successful, because like there's 10 of you. All it takes is one of those people, if you're all working together, to kind of take off, and
Yeah.
like you'll kind of get some kind of flow to go along with them.
You're both marketing the song. You you both pitch it to the Spotify playlist, which is powerful. You know, you split the marketing budget, right? And so it
Yeah,
allows you to maybe even spend more. Like maybe you were going to spend a $500 on a campaign. Well, now you both spend $500. Now you've got 1,000. So you've literally doubled your marketing budget. And I've literally like done this. Like this is what we do. Like
yeah,
so I did a Spotify ad marquee campaign. They did one, and we blew up the song, right? And so like, what's your relationships with sync? Oh, what's your relationships with radio? Oh, you know this person, I know this person. And there's just like I spend a whole day teaching on this on my Spotify challenge, but like I
yeah,
love collaborations and just the effect from it. It's just like um it's one of the best things. And the last thing I'll say is like if you work with a producer or something like that, like then sometimes you don't have to pay anything, and
yeah,
you split it 50-50, and that way they're invested and you're invested, and then you can get the song for free sometimes. So there's just so
yeah,
many ways to make things happen.
for sure. And that was actually going to be my next question. Was you have this whole Spotify challenge thing? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
um, what is it? What is it? How does it work? And what do you cover? Because obviously, like you do very well on Spotify. You have a million freaking monthly listeners.
Yeah.
And I think your tagline is the 10x your fan base Spotify challenge 5 day. I forget what the exact verbiage is, but how does
Yeah.
it work?
Yeah, so I love Spotify, right? I know people hate on it, and I'm all about focus, right? Follow one course until successful, and so we made created this challenge where for 5 days, I'm just training all on how to grow Spotify. One day is obviously collaborations. There's another day where I really teach about playlists, editorial playlists, and getting on that. We talk about Spotify ads another day. Every single day, I focus a little bit on mindset because I really believe that it's not just about tactics. Like you got to know your why, you got to know your purpose, and if you're always comparing yourself or you don't got your mindset right, we can give you all the tactics of in the world, but for those times when you feel discouraged and you're not plugged into your why, you're going to give up. But for 5 days I teach on that. When people get a VIP ticket, there's a Q&A before it starts, and so I do a Q&A like this over Zoom, for those that get that, and just answer questions for an hour, and then we start the training. So it's
Hmm.
2 hours, the whole thing. If you get a VIP ticket, if you get the regular general edition, it's just 1 hour. But if you get VIP, it's an hour of Q&A and then the training. And
Oh,
it's so
that's
fun.
times five. So it's like 2 hours a
Yeah,
day for 5 days.
yeah, that's right. Yep.
Damn. So it's like 10 hours with Chris. that's
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and there's
that's awesome.
homework every day. I give you homework. You better get it done because I'm your coach and I like to kick your butt in love, of course. But yeah.
That's a neat way to do it, because you have courses too, and I have courses, and one of the biggest problems with as a course creator is trying to incentivize people to actually take the damn course that they
Mm-hmm.
paid for, because like
Mm-hmm.
there's a statistic that 80% of people that buy courses never finish them, and so like
Yeah.
I make it my mission to try to have like make my number like as many people as possible are taking the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think these challenges are one way to kind of combat that, because it's like you're doing this day by day thing where and also it's on Zoom, so there's a little more accountability, because like if someone doesn't do their homework, they might not be
Yeah.
able to ask you that question that they just had an hour of time to sit and pick your brain about, and so
Yeah.
I
And
think
we
it's a
take
cool
down
way
the
to do it.
replay. We take down the replay after 24 hours. Like we leave up the replay for 24, 48 hours sometimes, but then I take it down. And it's not to be mean, but it's because it's not an online course. They don't need another online course that they're not watching or ebook. So it's just like, hey, show up, show up and let's get to
Yeah.
work and let's move something forward, and I might shorten it eventually. I'm not sure if right now we're doing 5 days, but I might consolidate it to three. And
Yeah.
but right now, the next one we're gonna do 5 days, which will be great.
You could just do the instead of calling it the 5 day Spotify challenge, or the 10 hour challenge. It's just one sitting, just 10 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, bring a pillow, have your washroom close by, no bathroom
Yeah.
breaks, you're locked in.
When's the next session happening?
The next one is May 1st.
Cool.
Is when we're starting. So yeah, next month, May 1st to the 5th. So Monday, May 1st is when we spark off.
So whenever this video goes live, well, there'll
Yeah,
be a
man.
link in the description for everyone to check it out. But
Awesome.
yeah, so Spotify, I wanted to pick your brain a little bit about CDs because you've
Mhm.
sold a crap ton, and
Yes.
I think I saw a number again when I was stalking you on the internet that you've sold 300,000 albums, but I don't think those are all CDs. Or have you sold 300,000 CDs?
Yeah, we sold over 300,000 albums, like CDs, maybe even more over my total career. Between 30 to 35,000 with Facebook and Instagram ads. Um, and so, it's funny. I get people saying, "Do people still buy CDs? Do people still buy USB keys?" I'm like, "Dude, people still buy vinyl, bro."
Yeah.
You know, you can put together a good enough offer, people will buy stuff. I just saw a big artist named NF. He just did an in-store signing and probably sold tens of thousands of CDs the first week. People still
Yeah.
want a souvenir.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of artists don't get. I did a free plus shipping and handling thing last year where I sold like 800 or so with the free plus shipping and handling funnel.
Awesome.
And I made a few
Awesome.
videos on it, and some, most people are like, "Oh, cool," but there's always some people who are like, "CDs are dead. This is stupid," or whatever. And
Yeah.
they don't, or some people on the contrary, like are like, "Why would you do this with CDs? Why wouldn't you do vinyl?" And
Mm.
CD sales and vinyl sales are like, at least in the last year, they were equal, which is insane. But that's why vinyl's been taken off, but they're still equal.
Wow. Wow.
And CDs cost like $1. Vinyls cost, have to do like a $2,000 order. It takes like 3 months to get them. They're expensive to ship. When I was figuring out how to do the free plus shipping and thing, I hacked Chris's funnel, so I knew he was doing it. So I went to
Yeah.
his page and I went through his funnel so I could see what upsells he does, how he ships his package, what he delivers in his order. And I didn't only do it with him. I did it with another artist. I think I did it with three people total, just to get ideas for funnels. And
Yeah.
it's CDs still sell is what I'm trying to say. And I don't think it necessarily. There's probably some differences in the genre, but I think for me, I was probably in a harder genre to do it, being like electronic pop.
Mm.
I think if you're doing like hip hop, you probably would want to do the USB key thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and then like rock, you're kind of in this like hip hop rock hybrid Linkin Park thing. So for you,
Yeah.
I think CDs would probably be even better. But
Yeah. I did it with the rock. I did it with a Christian record, and I used my song "Pray," because it all came down to like, what was the messaging and what's the song that resonates in the ad, right? Because the offer is pretty similar. I
yeah,
did do it with a remix record, actually, an EDM, and I targeted like Steve Aoki and some other EDM, and that one actually did okay. Um,
yeah,
but we did such a limited run on those; those sold out really quickly. But like, it's a great fan acquisition model because it's not just, like, it's profitable, and you're getting buyer email addresses. My only thing is I got to be careful not to let my fans like support my Kickstarters or whatever. Not that they care, but I just don't want to devalue it either. That's the only
yeah,
thing I found lately. I've got to be careful of, and because I'm not touring, it's just like I got to make sure that I can sell out, because I don't like carrying stock, and you need to have that scarcity. And you know, I find sometimes it's easy to have products lingering around, and I want to avoid that at all costs.
yeah, yeah. That's a good point that I've been kind of wrestling with when I launch my next CD or next album. I'm probably going to do a free plus shipping and handling for it too. But for all the people that already bought the last one, it's like in a perfect world, I would like to sell it for full price. But it's this weird
Mhm.
line of like, I want the ads to pull people in, and so, but it's, I don't want to make the current customers or fans feel like they're being gypped. And so it's almost like for the new album, I might do it where like at first it's like full price, and then I keep running free plus shipping and handling on the old album, and then there's an upsell for the new album kind of thing.
Right,
But
right.
it's this weird thing where like if I bought, let's say I'm a huge Manifest fan and I buy your free plus shipping CD, and then I get an email from you a year later that's like, oh, this new CD's coming out, gotta get it. And I pay like $30 to get the CD and maybe a vinyl,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden I see an ad by Manifest that's like, get this CD for free. I'm gonna be like, fuck you, Chris.
What? Yeah, yeah. Seriously. And that's what my concern was. And so that's why I'm I'm currently not running any ads to the free plus shipping. And it's just like, you know, just make the offer better. Because I think
Hmm.
obviously we know there's so many different ways to market your music, and people are willing to pay full pop, man. Like they just are. But I'd be lying if I said that the free plus shipping didn't help me get my music out to so many more people. And when we were really scaling, when we were spending like 400 or 500 bucks a day, when we were really like pushing it, the effect it had on, iTunes, Apple Music, Spotify, like everything got a lift when we were marketing at that level. Like all of a sudden you're getting, all these impressions.
Yeah.
People are Googling, they're looking, and they're checking you out. So you're really getting a growth effect, really.
Yeah, that's something I didn't even try to measure, but I have to imagine, and I'm not talking huge numbers. It was like 500 people that bought those 800 CDs, but I have to imagine that a decent chunk of them, even though they bought a CD, probably actually listened to music on a streaming platform.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of them
Mm-hmm.
probably are actual people who use CDs, but a lot of people I noticed, like they just wanted something like physical and signed to add to their like some people collect
Yeah.
CDs from art music they like, and they like just having something, or they play that in the car. But then in certain other places they stream.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to imagine that there was lift everywhere because I was getting emails from these people, DMs from these people. They were sending me screenshots when they got the package I sent them, and
Oh, cool, man.
it's I bet if I didn't have like stuff already happening in Spotify, I would have noticed that lift.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, totally, man. And that's the thing, is just measuring it and checking it out and seeing what's going on. And that's what's so important that artists need to be doing, is like looking at your analytics. Like I always say, like write down your numbers and look at where things are at the
Yeah,
beginning, the middle, and the end at the campaign. Did you grow? Did this have an effect? Right? You know, there's a story of one buddy. He's like, "Yeah, I got on TV or whatever. Yeah, or whatever." And it's like, okay, did anything get sold? Like, it's like, okay, wow, you got an ego lift. Like
yeah,
that's why I say to some artists, like, okay, you made a music video. That's not marketing. It's an asset, but it doesn't become marketing until you actually promote it. Right? And
yeah,
it's like getting away from the feel good things and getting focused on things that actually move the needle, so to speak.
yeah, yeah. That's a great point. And you have books too, right? Like not just as a marketer, but you have books as like a music artist, I think, don't you?
Yeah, yeah. The first book, I don't know where it is right now, but the first book I wrote is called Fighter: 5 Keys to Conquering Fear and Reaching Your Dreams. And I just love books, right? Like when I was on tour, I always had a book because there's always waiting time, whether in the plane, the train, the van, the tour bus, whatever it was. And so I was always reading and learning. And I thought, you know what? We've had some success now, and I want to kind of share my story and what God had done in my life and how I overcame my fears and just how I found success in the music industry. So I literally share how I went from 5 days a week working to four. I asked my boss for Fridays off so I could play more shows. Then I had the guts to ask him for another day. And I thought I was going to get fired, but they kept me on salary, if you can believe it.
Wow.
And then I got signed and quit, and I went $30,000+ into debt, and was just ready to give up. And then Japan happened, some other things happened, and I was able to keep doing music. But I share that whole story, and I didn't write that for musicians. I just wrote that for people. But a lot of
Yeah.
artists will definitely relate to it. And then the other book I wrote is called From Red to Black, my short journey from debt to liberty. And that's really just talking about financial freedom and how I went from 0 to 6 figures to 7 figures, and just how to really build wealth, and the habits of the
Yeah.
rich, and the bad habits of the poor, and talk about all kinds of stuff in there. Talk about gold and silver, which is very interesting. That's actually real money and not fiat currency. And I've had a lot of good mentors. Even though I didn't have a dad growing up, I had a lot of mentors, a lot that I paid access for, but just really gave me advice on building wealth for me and my family.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a big believer in investing in mentors, or at least like pools of knowledge, whether it's a course or a book or something. So, a lot of people don't like doing that because like it's hard to measure the return on investment when you invest in yourself. But like, if I look at my life, the things that have moved the needle the most are when I like paid money for my own education.
Mm, for sure, man. Like that self, doesn't Jim Rohn say, you know, um, your formal education will make you a living, self-education will make you a fortune,
Yeah.
and there's just like I've been back, like I only went to community college. I don't know if you went to a college or university, but I only went to a community one. It was like a 6 month computer program, and then got a job really quick. But I spent
Yeah.
10 times more than what I spent on that. That was like an $8,000 program where, geez,
Yeah, I mean,
I spent,
I did get a master's degree in mechanical engineering,
oh,
and I
awesome.
mean, like, I did it first. I went to community college, which I
Mm,
did that because it was essentially free after financial aid, and then I went to a local
oh, cool.
university, which was like dirt cheap. Financial aid covered like half of it, and I was fortunate
Nice.
enough where my parents covered 2/3 of it, and I was working at Starbucks full time as well, and so I
Nice.
only had to pay like a third, probably even less than that, because honestly they paid for more than 2/3. So I was
Cool,
like, I
man.
left school with no debt, and then I had this degree in a high paying field, and I think you were an IT network specialist, right? I think is what I found.
Yeah. Yeah. I was a network engineer for a while, an MCSE, a Microsoft certified engineer.
Yeah, I mean, so that must have been a pretty lucrative field. Usually, any kind of
Yeah.
IT network stuff like pays pretty well.
Yeah. For however many years ago that was, it was like, geez, we're talking, well, it was like 2004, 2005. So 18 years ago, I was making like 63 to 70 grand a year.
Yes, it's
So
really
that
really
was,
good for back then. That's like phenomenal for
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I'd probably be about 150 now, I would think 100, I think at least.
yeah,
And yeah, I was doing good, man. No complaints. And I didn't even hate my job. Like I didn't like, I just wanted to pursue the dream, my music, but like I didn't like hate it. I should have stayed and took that money and kept investing into my career instead of
yeah.
killing the income stream. Like it was the dumbest thing I could have done. Thank God, I learned how to book shows and make money a different way. But like, man, if I could go back and do it differently, I wouldn't have quit so fast and used that money to propel my career.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, that was kind of my plan when I almost went to college at Berkeley. Like I got accepted. I was like going to enroll for classes, and then the bill came along, and this was when I was 18, so like 13 years ago, and it was sixty
Right.
thousand dollars a year.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so I decided to not do it and instead take 6 months off and then go to community college and figure out what I wanted to do. And that's when I picked engineering. But my kind of goal was like, when I made that decision, was like, I'm going to find something else that I'm passionate about, that I enjoy,
Mm,
that pays well. And I'm going to go to school for that. I'm going to get an awesome paying job in that. And then I'm going to use all the money I make from that to fund all my crazy music stuff. Like, cause
yeah.
I got a $3,000 guitar right here. Like that doesn't pay for itself, and like an iMac, and then a camera, and then like even outside of that, then you have the marketing, and there's ways to
Mm,
do everything for free, but it's a lot slower. It's a lot harder. You're usually going to sign to a label, and so that was kind of my long term like 10-year plan, was like
yeah.
go get a great paying job, use that money to like as a side hustle, start growing my other stuff, and try to pursue it that way. And it's kind of, it seems like that's pretty much what you did.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure, man. For sure. And that's awesome that you had something like so tangible and useful and that people wanted you for and pay you for, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. Well, we've been going for, how long have we been going for? Going for about 55
Okay.
minutes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
is there anything that people should should check you out at. I know you got your Smart Music Business YouTube channel that'll be linked in the comments, as well as your website. Anything else people should check out?
Yeah, no, check out the YouTube channel. Definitely come to the challenge, the Spotify challenge. If you're an audiobook listener, we got a bunch of audiobooks on Audible. If you like to consume stuff that way, just on different music and marketing. But no, that's about it, man. The YouTube channel's got tons of free content and stuff like that. And it's been awesome being on this interview with you, man, and getting to know you better.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
That's a wrap.